Should I go now?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lit Up Live Coaching. I am so excited to have you here. I am super excited for our topic today, sales and selling, because I think it is something that every entrepreneur is super challenged by, especially if you came from a background that wasn't related to sales. And it's also one of the most important parts of actually running a business. So pretty important to get it in alignment. So, in case you're new to this and watching for the first time, I'm Lacey Craig. My business is A Lit Up Life. And basically what I do is help high-performing women entrepreneurs to create the impact and income they want to live that lit up life. I spent a lot of time in a 9-to-5 that was supposed to be the dream job, not feeling lit up. And so being in this space where I get to create my own business, my own hours, my own impact, has changed everything for me, has given me that lit up life. So that is what I'm here to do, is help other women do the same. And that's what today is about, is coaching through objections around sales and selling, talking about how to do it in a way that actually feels good, because we're not going to get to that lit up place if we're doing sales in a way that feels really like sleazy and crappy to us the whole time. So that's what we're diving into. I just want to say first, thank you to both of our guests for being here to receive coaching. I know getting coaching in general is, something we have to develop ourselves to be able to receive, and then doing it live like this is even more so. So I'm so grateful to both of you. We actually had a third person that was supposed to join us, and she had to cancel at the last minute. So I'll take a question at the end if anybody has one. If not, you'll just get to watch a shorter video this month. So we are going to dive right in. We have our first coaching participant, who is Tess.
Hello.
Tess, I would love if you would just tell us a little bit about you, your business, what you do, and definitely where people can find you.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Tess Rafferty. I am a compassionate lifestyle coach. Basically what that means is that I combine kind of classic self-love life coaching along with meditation, instruction, and plant-based lifestyle consulting. So becoming more environmentally friendly in terms of the diet that you're eating every day, the products that you have in your home, and the clothes that you wear. So that's what I do. My website is tessmrafferty.com. It needs an overhaul, but it's on the long list of to-dos.
Beautiful.
So that's what I do. And I've been in business for less than a year. I had a few, 9-to-5 jobs, some that lit me up at first, but it kind of just it didn't feel sustainable, and the work-life balance wasn't there. I'm sure you hear that story every day, right? Yeah, I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm just still very much in the startup days.
Totally get that. Beautiful. So tell us, where in the sales process do you feel like you're kind of getting stuck? Front end being just connecting with people, getting them on the phone, back end maybe being closing the deal, middle maybe being just getting people on discovery calls, that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course the answer is kind of all of it.
Totally get that. Yep.
But in terms of really zeroing in on it, I feel front end and middle end, I feel like I know what I can be doing. I feel like I know where I should be doing more. I'm, implementing that. I think it's really the selling, just at the end, I'll get people on the phone. I'll have an amazing, I usually do a sample session.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get amazing feedback. They're crying, they're feeling amazing. It's just a whole thing. But then I freeze up. And I've gotten better at, I actually try to make the sale now. There was a point when I wouldn't even do that.
Okay, have a good day.
If you want to work with me, let me know. Now I at least have the confidence to tell them about my package. And I say it in the beginning of the call. I say, New York traffic out the window. But yeah, it's just if they give me, they're oh, it's just too expensive. I'm okay, I get it. I understand. Bye. It's just, and I just feel no matter how many things I read or how many times I try to think about coaching through objections, it feels pushy and it feels not authentic for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get there. I'm just still so how do I do this in a way that feels good? you know?
Beautiful. That totally makes sense. And honestly, I'm so grateful to you for being here and expressing it like that, because I really think that is like such a universal struggle for entrepreneurs, where it's like, we're not selling, I don't know, a candle, right? Like we're selling ourselves and our service. So sometimes that gets really weird and it gets hard to detach from that. Yeah. I think like the first question I have for you is, do you feel like you were pushed into a sale before?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably not for anything major. Actually, you know what? No, I would say in this realm, like in coaching, there was a group program that I did where I didn't actually feel pushed into it. I felt that she genuinely was excited about having me on board and she genuinely thought it was right for me, but it turned out not to be right for me. It was a little bit too, I just wasn't where I was in my business. I think it was a great course. So I think that's like the only time I would really say that that's happened to me.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because I think that sometimes we bring our personal experiences into the sales process, right? And so especially as women, we tend to be caretakers. And so it almost seems like what you're doing is like you had an experience where like you were sold into something that wasn't right for you. And so now you're trying to caretake everybody that comes to you with like, it's totally okay. Don't worry about it. If it's not right for you, no big deal, right? Like you're almost like making the decision for them and like caretaking them, rather than like assuming that they're like an empowered human on the other end. Does that feel true?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that we tend to do that a lot in sales as service-based entrepreneurs, definitely as women, like, almost like feeling the pressure to take on like the whole decision, So it makes sense that when money comes up as an objection, you almost don't even want to touch it.
Yeah.
Because then you'd not only be owning their decision to sign up with you, you'd be owning their decision to be stressed about money or whatever, right? Like, so you're owning like some deeper level stuff. Does that feel true?
Yeah, totally. And I think also something that comes into play for me is that I had help when I hired my first coach. Like my parents were helping me out with the bills. So I feel like, who am I to tell somebody that they can afford it? Because like it's like a spoiled story or something like that. It's like of course, since then I've invested in coaching and I paid for it myself, but it's kind of like this, like, oh, you don't know what it's like to be in debt. So how can you argue with somebody? Like, how can you, it's like, that's the feeling.
I love that you brought that up, because I think that's such an important distinction is, I think most selling styles that we're taught are basically like, tell them they could put it on a credit card, or like that debt isn't really a bad thing, or that they don't want it bad enough if they're not like investing in their dreams or whatever.
They're not willing to like open a new credit card or sell jewelry to get like, that doesn't help me. I can't tell somebody.
Right. And that's why we're like, I'm literally never going to do that. Right. Like I had someone tell me that a coach asked them or suggested that they sell their wedding ring to pay for it. Yeah. And I was like, I'd pretty much rather shut down my business than say that to someone, right? So I think the distinction is this. In like value-centered selling, what I try to think about is every objection isn't about the objection, right? So like the money is almost never about the money. The time's almost never about the time. And what it usually comes down to is empowerment.
Yeah.
So like, am I feeling empowered enough that if I make this investment with you, Tess, that I'm going to feel like I can show up for it 100%, that I'm going to get a return on my investment, that I'm willing to do what it takes, that I'm willing to put in the effort. And usually if it's some other kind of objection, I'm just not feeling empowered enough that I'll show up 100% for my investment, right?
Yeah, totally.
So tell me what your face was for.
No, I'm like just imagining myself coaching somebody through objections, and I just get like,
Yeah. So what I usually start with is trying to figure out what is the real objection, right? So if it's like time, right? Oh, I would love to do that with you, but it just seems like really time intensive and I don't have time to like cook all my own food or whatever, right?
Right.
So surface level. And usually that's where people like try to manage the objection. They're like, oh, well, really don't worry because it'll be 5 minutes a day and da da da. And like you become like the dancing monkey trying to like manage it, right? And but underneath it's like, what's the real thing? Is it that you don't trust yourself? Is it that you think if your coach gives you an assignment that you can't be trusted to do it, that kind of thing? So that's where I would try to dig in is like, well, what feels challenging about time for you? Mm-hmm. And like, that's where you can kind of like put on your coaching hat a little bit, right? Yeah. Just like you would in a client session and help them see and help you see what's really under that. Like for money, it might be like, you know, do you feel like you're 100% ready to show up for this level of investment and get the results from it? And if they're like, no, because I've invested money before and it hasn't worked out and I'm super stressed out about that. Yeah. Now you're there, right? Like now you're at the thing under the thing. Yeah. And that's the conversation you get to have instead of like all the surface level stuff about like take out a credit card, we'll do time scheduling, whatever, right? Yeah,
totally.
And that's probably where you shine because you have training as a coach and that is how you show up. Is that true?
Yeah, that's like a really interesting distinction to make because I feel like as soon as we go into this conversation about sales, I stop coaching. And you're so right. It's like I respond to their, like if during the part where I was coaching them, they say, I don't know, or they give me some answer like that, I'm not like, oh, okay. Like that's you know? But
I agree with you. We're good.
No, you're right. You don't know. So that it's hopeless. Like I would never agree with them on that. So it's kind of like I just stop. Maybe it's even like a mindset thing in terms of how I'm looking at how the call is organized and the timing. Like don't look at it as like 45 minutes of coaching and then 15 minutes of, you know, the sales conversation. It's like I'm coaching them the whole time. Right? Like
yeah, I mean, I think in many ways, like what you're trying to do, I guess is what I want to say, is like you want to be congruent across the board. So that doesn't mean you have to have coach hat on 24/7 and like you just have to be providing value and delivering. But like the Tess that is on the sales call, we want to be the same one that shows up for coaching, where I think sometimes what people do is like the one that shows up on the sales call is like, you know, you should take out a credit card and I know this is right for you and this is how we're going to do it and da-da-da. And then you show up as a coach and you're like, so what feels good to you? And the person's like, well,
right.
WTF, because last week you knew all the answers for me and now you want me to uncover my own. So it's more like, how can you show up congruent on both ends of it? Does that feel true?
Yeah, totally. That totally makes sense. And it feels good. Like it makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I think for you, it's like, not being scared of the objection, but like actually like wanting to get to it. Right.
Yeah.
Because one, best market research you'll ever do in your business, right? Especially to get to the objection under the objection, like there's nothing that, so even if like I'm just teasing you, but even if you bomb every sales call, just blow it, never like convert, you still will have not wasted your time because that market research will be so valuable, right? But if you start showing up as you and as Coach Tess, right? And like helping them uncover the objection under the objection, that's when it'll be easier to empower them. Because what I always think about and what I've had personal experience with is like, I never like leave a sales call going, I'm really glad that she reminded me about that bonus because that seals the deal for me, right? It's like what I'm remembering is like how I felt. Mm-hmm. So if I feel heard and understood and like you're actually getting to the thing under the thing and then I feel really empowered to manage that, then I'm like 10 times more likely to want to invest anyway, right?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, that really helps. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Like, yeah, I have to remember that. I'm going to write it on my little Post-it wall.
Yes.
Get to the thing under the thing. With the money.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And just remember, like, it's just the same work that you're doing. It's just empowering your clients, right?
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. Of course.
All right, my dear Rama, you ready to rock and roll?
Yep. Yeah, I have no lighting, so it's absolutely useless for me to put on the video. So I'm just going to keep it off.
No
this is
problem.
my apartment with no lighting. But I actually, it's funny. I think you actually covered a good chunk of it with Tess, but
hold on. First, you tell us about you. Tell us where we can find you, what you do. Tell us your website, all that good stuff.
All right. So I'm Dr. I go professionally by Dr. Rama, but my name's Rama, and I'm a mental health coach for millennial women. So my whole point, what my goal is to help women actually take control of their mental health in a more empowering way, versus what I feel like the current system is incredibly disempowering for particularly around mental health. And so it's just kind of helping them kind of put that together and not live managing this thing, but actually be able to go beyond it and actually have the life that they want and not be kind of held back by, depression, anxiety, or pick addiction, ADD. And my website is Dr. Rama, and I'm actually everywhere across the board. Social media, everything is the same thing. And doctor spelled out, no DR, it's DOCTOR.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I love that. Okay, cool. So tell us, where you're sort of experiencing some challenges, what overlap you have there, and like what we can support you in.
My original question had to do with objections, which you actually kind of covered really well with Tess. But I kind of go through seasons with my sales. Is kind of like, not even so much as like some seasons are better than others, but I have different problems in the system in different seasons. So like currently I'm going through like a discovery call drought. I can't get people to convert, like even sign up for a discovery call, where sometimes I can't, other times I'll get a lot of discovery calls and I can't get them to convert. So it kind of changes as to where my problem. But my current one is getting them on a discovery call. And the thing is that I'm not quite sure what I did the first few times around to get the discovery call. So I can't exactly replicate that system. So that's a little bit annoying.
Yeah, totally. Like you kind of have a sales process because you've made sales, but it's like a replicate or.
Yeah, it's not, it's not systematized yet.
Definitely makes sense. So tell me, like right now, I know you put out free content regularly. What other things do you do just like as a base for marketing your services?
Well, there's free content. There's my blog, but my website, went live today. And thanks. It's still not done, but I just had to put it up because I realized I was procrastinating with it. So I just put it up. And so there's my blog. There's workshops that I do in my own Facebook group that's kind of not distributed anywhere else. Free content. And I'm like, I'm trying to think. No, that's really all I have right now. Email marketing is what I needed my website up for. So that's actually going to be the next step, is doing email marketing.
Beautiful. So I would say a couple of things, like, one, well, you tell me, because maybe you just didn't mention this, but like our free calls, something that you offer regularly?
I haven't done that I've not done that in 2017 yet. The last time I did that was at the end of 2016.
So one of the things I talk about in value-centered sales a lot is creating safety. So the client feeling really safe signing up with you, safe buying from you, safe getting on a call with you, safe sharing with you, all of that good stuff, right? Which I would say for your people is probably like exponentially more important than even for most of us because of the like sensitive nature of what you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
So what I think sometimes is like the idea of signing up for just like a straight discovery call around that can feel really scary. Do you feel like that's true?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's hard enough to like admit I feel depressed, or I'm really anxious, or like I've tried therapy and it's not working, or any of those things that are still unfortunately quite stigmatized in our culture, and also just suck to have to come to grips with, right?
Yeah.
So I think that free calls might be almost like your back entrance into a discovery call, if that makes sense, because you can create a lot of safety there, where then it feels safe to talk to you about like ongoing work together, as opposed to kind of having to like come right out of the gate like, okay, I'm here, I'm admitting that I'm depressed and I need support around it. Does that kind of feel true?
Yeah, I can see how that would work. And I'm trying to think back, like when I was in the throes of it, I would probably feel better that way.
Like when you were dealing with that, would you have just signed up for a discovery call? Probably not necessarily, right?
Not off the bat, no.
So I think while it's like a little bit annoying and like some extra steps, I think that might be a huge piece of your sales process, is figuring out, how do I create like I don't know why I keep saying back ends or back ways in, but you get what I mean. Like, kind of like it doesn't have to be the traditional like only discovery call model, but like what are these other models of like free calls, free assessments, maybe even like offering to chat via email or PM or something like that, where there's like some initial safety established. So then it's like easy to get the discovery call and convert it, versus feeling like you're kind of like trying to pull them along when they're not quite there yet, right?
Yeah. Oh, I can see that. Yeah, that would make it a lot easier, actually. I don't know why. It's one of those things that's so obvious you just don't see it. This is like a running theme for me this week. And the week's just started, and so this is really sad. It's going to be a long week for me.
I also think that because like you were, in some ways, you were your ideal client, right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways I was, yeah.
So sometimes I think that we just evolve past where we were so much that we like almost forget. Like,
yeah,
for me,
it occurred to me last night that might have been true. Because with my messaging, I often have that disconnect. That's kind of what I'm always also fighting on a different level, which is making sure that I don't start using words that I've learned like now versus the words I would have used then. And there's not that much of a difference, but it's just enough that it makes a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I know for me, I have to go back and read like old journal entries sometimes and read old content that I've written. Definitely like trying to like scavenge for like content that I wrote at the very beginning of my business, because I always am trying to keep checking in with like, am I still in touch with that? So I think for you, that could be like a really fun exercise to just spend some time of like, when I was there, what would I have said yes to? Like, would I have gotten on a 15-minute call? Would that have felt too short? Would I have gotten on a 45-minute call? What would have made me want to get on a call when I was like deep in the throes of like not seeing my own forest through my trees, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And then I think kind of like the other piece I would add is almost like not being hard on yourself if like your people don't fit that traditional model, right? Like, if your people aren't people that are just going to schedule a discovery call out of the clear blue sky, like that doesn't mean there's something wrong with your business or your ideal client or you. It just means like you've chosen an ideal client or model or range or whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. It requires you to handle them differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. That makes a lot of sense.
So it would be easy to be like, I suck. Why can't I get discovery calls, right? But it's better to be like, oh, well, duh, because that feels really scary to my people who are already in a scary situation, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it takes the pressure off myself too, which is good.
Yeah, and then I think the last thing I would say too is like, you're doing something that's different, right? Like, mental health coach is not something we hear regularly. There's very much like
I've checked Google. There's not a lot.
Yeah, there's very much like a thought process of like traditional therapy is the only thing that can fix that. So I think also like being able to expose them to like what that would even be like with like a free caller session would be super valuable too, because then it would be like very clear what your work together would look like, instead of feeling like, well, I don't even know what that does, and how could she help me more than someone else could, right? You get to like give them the experience of it. Yeah,
and no, it's the thing is that I've checked out people who do something similar to what I do, and they never call it what it is. You know, like it's never like they have like different names for themselves, and some of them are like doctors and shrinks, which is, you know, it's different. But so you know that you're getting some of that like medical ease with it, but they still don't call a spade a spade. And I don't know. And for me, it's like my whole thing is that like you're still attached to this label. You don't need it, but you're attached to it. And I don't find the need to kind of like pussyfoot around it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's kind of messaging at the same time. Like, is that, because I haven't gotten a clear answer in my market research, to be completely honest, on that particular thing.
You broke
Because
up.
there are some people who really like, who understand. Oh, sorry. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Tell me, like, I heard you kind of say, like, you're not like sugarcoating it, you're calling it what it is. And then I sort of lost you.
Yeah. Cause I'm wondering if that's the problem with my messaging, to create, to at least create I know maybe this was like last month's coaching, and I'm bringing it into this one, but it kind of ties in with the sales, is because I do really well with free calls, actually. And now that you said it, I'm going back and I'm thinking out, like 2/3 of my clients came to me that way. It's something that I didn't think to even track. So I don't have a statistic for it, but I'm thinking back on it now, and I can, off the top of my head, 2/3 I know came through free calls. But what happens is that they don't get that same feeling off of my content. And I'm wondering if it's because I'm calling depression and anxiety rather than describing how it feels.
I mean, I think there's definitely something there to look at more. Like, I guess my question is, like, your ideal clients, like, have they been diagnosed and they've tried all the things and they totally know, like, that's what's going on, and then they're coming to you because they've tried all the other things? Or is it potentially like they just don't know what the heck is going on and why they're feeling the way they're feeling?
They've tried all the other things.
So then I would say probably, like, using that language is not necessarily a negative, because it, like, they know it, right? Like, they've been to the psychiatrist, they've been to the...
Yeah, there are even people who've had mindset coaches, multiple mindset coaches. So it's not even like it's not like they haven't tried coaching before. So it's, you know, but they have tried it. There are definitely people who have already gone through the therapy route, but their situation's getting worse. And worse being relative, obviously, depending on the person.
Yeah, so I think that there's room for both, right? Like, I think, you know, depression feels differently to everybody. Anxiety feels a little bit different to everybody. So I think it's worth putting words and feelings around that. But I don't think that you have to shy away from using those words if your people, like, know that's their word, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Okay, good. Because that's what, I've had issues trying to drop that, only because it always comes up. So maybe that's why. All right.
Yeah, I think if you can like combine the two, that's where your sweet spot probably is, right?
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So free calls, definitely do more of those. Create that safety for them. Think back to, like, where you were at that point. Like, what would have made you say yes to talking to someone else or giving something else a try, right? And then definitely, like, incorporating both of those things into your messaging.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you so much. All right. So like I said before, we're only having 2 today because our third person pulled out at the last minute because she had something come up. But what I just want to do is, like, wrap up really quick. Like, what are some of the, hold on. Just what people think they want isn't what they actually want thing. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Well, actually, Evelyn, can you clarify for me? You can unmute.
My daughter might talk to you too. So.
That would be great. So tell me what you mean by, like, when I was saying, like, the objection under the objection, or what did you mean something different?
Well, I think so I do mindset and confidence coaching. And I think a lot of the time when people come into the coaching space, they're like, oh, I need a business coach. Like, I need to figure out exactly what my strategy is and I need to implement it. And in my head, I'm like, well, actually you have limiting beliefs and we need to work through that. But they don't necessarily
realize that that's what they need. And so on one hand, I want to empower people to, stand in their own intuition and go with what works best for them and what they know is best for them. Sorry, I'm getting strangled.
That is dangerous.
But at the same time, I think there's always an opportunity for education around, like, do you need a business coach or do you need a mindset coach and a killer VA? Like, what is it that's actually going to be beneficial for you? So how do you navigate that balance between, respecting what people know is right for them and still providing them education around what they might actually need in their businesses that they don't know they need? Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. So I think that a couple things, just from like a content perspective, like when you're putting stuff out there, which is the beginning of a sales process, right? I think it's not necessarily like mindset or business. It's more like, how do you help them identify signs, or like, how do you like resonate with them, if that makes sense? So like when you said like they come in thinking they need strategy, but really they have limiting beliefs. So how can you like put words around that like they would understand? So it might be like, you paid for 4 courses and you haven't finished any yet. This might be mindset. Like, it's not that you need a different strategy. What you need is support around getting past the blocks that are keeping you from finishing. Or maybe it's like, you think you need strategy to get visible, but every time you think about doing a video, you want to vomit. Well, strategy isn't going to fix that. What you need. So it's like using like really concrete examples that they would relate to business. Like, oh, I can't finish a course, so I need better courses. Or like, I can't get visible, so I need better visibility strategy. I don't know why that's so hard to get out. But like, if you take concrete examples like that people are struggling with, and help them see, like, if you're super excited to make videos, but you don't know where to put them or how to put them out or whatever, cool. Maybe you need a business you know what I mean? Like, could you help them see like each side of that? And then they get to listen and then decide what's true for them and what's really coming up, right? I think the other piece, as far as like being on a call with them and helping them see like what might be right for them, is also just like getting to the thing under the thing, right? So just like we were talking about with Tess, if they're like, well, I just need more visibility, or I need a better sales process, or whatever. Cool. Can you be like, well, great. What does that look like for you? Like, what about visibility feels challenging for you right now? And you'll know as soon as it's like the idea of like, well, I'm scared shitless to put myself on video or whatever. That's when you get to help them reflect, well, that's actually like mindset support. But I think it's like helping them see it first, just like with Tess, how we were kind of saying, like, if time is the thing, helping them see like what that actually means. Well, it really means that you don't trust yourself to show up. If visibility is the thing, helping them see like, really, you don't have the confidence you feel like you need to get on camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so often, I mean, I come from like a nursing, like wanting to help, wanting to give, wanting to be like, give people a huge big hug. And so I think a lot of the time it can be challenged. Yes, sorry.
She agrees. She's like, it is.
Oh, totally. She's like loving watching this, by the way, like trance. Anyway, it can be challenging to kind of navigate that line between like wanting to be like, no, really, like, I know that this will help you, and encouraging people to get to that on their own, right?
Yes, for sure. And I think that's always the best place to be in, is empowering them to get there, but like being narrowed in enough to help them see it, right? Because like, you know, you could have a coaching client in front of you and you could see every single block that they have. And if you just like listed them out and were like, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is showing up, nobody's going to respond to that, right? At the very least, they're going to want to get off the phone with you. But if you can help them navigate that by seeing like, oh, interesting, I've been feeling like courses were my problem all along and now I haven't done 4, then they're empowered enough to feel really good leaving the call. and to want to work with you because you're the one that helped them see that without it also feeling like attacking or scary or you not listening or you pushing, or that's when people, I think, totally back off of sales, right? Is when they start to feel disempowered or like, you know better, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, using your ability to educate, but always doing it in a way that helps them to like see the problem for themselves, right?
I already did them. When? I literally just walked back in here. Like,
there we go. I think somebody wasn't on mute. Okay, cool. So any questions about that? Does that feel true?
Yeah, no, that feels much better. I think it's just kind of, because the sales part does kind of feel icky. Like it almost feels like I'm making decisions for them when I really don't want to do that. And so that, I really like your line around like, does that feel true for you? Like, how does that resonate for you? And I feel like that really comes from the place that I want to be coming from.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And like, you know, the congruent thing too. It's like on a sales call, you don't want to have to feel like you're the expert and you're making the decision for them or you're telling them or whatever, because that's not ultimately what like a long-term service-based coaching relationship is going to be like. So I think when we like take the sales out of sales in some way, like make it like not a thing, it's just like an ongoing conversation, it gets so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. And I think taking away that, like, almost stepping back from it being a sale, like making it more about like, hey, how can I help you? Like, this is my expertise. This is what I have to offer. Like, what in this is resonating for you? What in this makes sense for you? And kind of letting them walk down that path for themselves. I think just so often, like people are like, oh, I need your help, but I can't afford it. And I'm like, okay, like, that's fine. We'll do it anyway. Like, so
I hear you. It's cool. Come on down.
Yeah, but no, this was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And so like, I'm glad that you said that though, because I think that's like a really important thing that I would love to say something on is that like, I'm not trying to say like it's never money. Like, I think there are some times where it just is, and that's okay. But like, again, like you don't have to caretake this situation, and it doesn't have to be your thing to fix too, right? Like when we're talking about empowerment, that's real empowerment when you don't feel like you have to fix everything for the other person. Like if they're not empowered to, you know, say yes right now or say no right now, that's when it's a negative thing, right? When they're in the place of power to be like, I honestly literally just can't afford it right now. Okay. When they're in the place of power to be like, I can, I'm just scared shitless. That's better too. You know, it's like not feeling like you have to fix all the things. Beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Tess. Thank you, Rama. Thank you, Evelyn. I so appreciate this. I'm going to put this up for recording if you missed part of it. We're going to do coaching next month on mindset challenges. So make sure to sign up for that. And just thank you guys for being here. Hope y'all have a good day.
Thanks, Lacey.